A classic example would be the case that I actually won $3.5 million from my client on the FDA recall. They had a marketing expert who was supposed to be an expert to testify on the impact of a product recall on a brand. And what he did is he wrote a report, and a lot of what he put in his report was anecdotal. The impact of Tylenol when it had to be pulled off the shelf from J&J and because of the Tylenol scare, things like that. The problem there is that this was a very qualified expert, knew his field, but the requirements under the law is that you have to do much more than provide anecdotal evidence. You've got to be able to provide empirical data to show the impact, to show the margin of error in any kind of statistical analysis that you're doing. It has to go more than to say, because the product was damaged, it got pulled off the shelf and people were afraid to use your product. So, the concept of a Dauber challenge goes far beyond, just not being unethical. I mean, this individual happened to be very ethical. He just didn't support his opinion well enough to allow the court to let it go to the jury. And unfortunately, these things happen. I mean, the standard from years ago where you qualified as an expert and you were allowed to walk into a courtroom and say almost anything, those days are gone. You may be qualified as an expert based on your education, your credentials, your experience, but it's no longer, this is what I think. I'm Gary Trugman, now believe me because I've got all these initials after my name. That won't work in a courtroom anymore. If I tell you this is what I think, I have to also then be able to support why did I lead to that conclusion and show all of the empirical evidence that supports me reaching that conclusion. That's a lot different than it used to be. The rules of the court have changed.